Big Safety Podcast with Vance and Bart.
It's a trap. There's no comfort fitting in a fake safety that no one believes in.
Oh, man.
Man. I don't know if I like that pronoun.
Oh, dude. Vance, I've got a wild one for you.
Yeah, I bet you do. There's a lot of 1984-ish kind of things being proposed today, and probably happening today. So what do you have for me, Bart?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and use the language of my people and say that I've got a hot take for you. That hot take being that Stacey Abrams is a race traitor. I will now defend my argument.
Sorry, I don't watch the news a lot. What race is she?
Oh.
I heard
We'll just give a wide net. We'll just say African American.
Okay. Is that the proper? I don't. Yeah, that'll work.
I really don't know. But by any measure, she would be a person of color, and she has now completely abandoned people of color. So, if you haven't been watching the news, she and the various different folks that manipulated.
Sorry, I've heard if you don't vote for a certain presidential candidate, that you're not a person of color, too.
Right, and that's why she supported his campaign.
But now she's bouncing.
Well, she was then, but I suppose now that the election's over, she's not.
Okay.
So she has been very vocal about these laws that you might have heard about. There are laws that are that have been classified, I guess, as voter suppression laws. The idea that you can't hand out water to people in line to vote. And these laws and bickering back and forth between various different political elites have gone so far that the All-Star Game, Major League Baseball, has decided.
Thank you for clarifying the sport. I did not know which one that was.
The stick with the little ball.
Pastime.
Yeah, the one that most closely resembles apple pie. In its Americanness, not visually. So,
right. Sorry.
Major League Baseball has decided to take the All-Star Game from Atlanta as a protest and a political statement for these laws. You will note that Atlanta is a place filled with people of color. Quite a few of them, I would say, are struggling business owners coming out of a pandemic. And they were likely relying on quite a big boom from this All-Star Game. So that is why I would say that Stacey Abrams is a race traitor. And I hope that the city of Atlanta agrees with me.
So she's using the old hit them in the wallet. Let's set an embargo on I don't know, Yemen or whatever move, right?
Yep.
The government is bad, so let's kill the people. the poor people there is to punish the guy living in the palace who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time, right? The Mujahideen who have no idea why we're there, or the local rural Afghan tribes who don't even get the news or know what September 11th was that we're bombing. That sort of thing.
What I like is the leaders' press releases after that are very easy to turn his people back to his will once the embargoes have started, because he can now blame all the poverty from him sucking the wealth out of the nation on the evil Westerners and create more radicals. Because I don't know if you guys understand this listening, but you can disagree on everything with your neighbors beside you. But if some foreign whatever comes in and starts trying to take over their homes, your home, you're going to team up with that person against the foreign invader. So if you want to create enemies, that's how you'll do it. So Stacey Abrams wants to create enemies in the largely people of color Atlanta area.
A community of color, maybe?
Yeah. I lived in the gay area of Atlanta when I lived there.
The community of gay?
Yeah. There was a lot of
People of gay.
People of color gay, too. Not just the rainbow gay. There was color gay and
Gays of color.
gays of color. Yes, there was.
Red,
But
orange,
it
yellow,
was a nice
green.
neighborhood. I liked it when I was younger. It was just.
Wait, so was that Midtown?
Yeah. I guess it would be Midtown. It would Piedmont Park right there at Monroe and Piedmont. I guess it was Smith's Old Bar.
Well, I do remember coming across a statistic, because, as you know, my folks in the Silicon Valley, the San Francisco, there is this bit of a gay mecca in San Francisco, and I remember being in the Castro district and talking about San Francisco being a mecca, and they said, "Oh, did you know that Atlanta's actually got the gayest neighborhood per capita," or something like that. I remember them quoting some kind of statistic. This was about 10 years ago in San Francisco, but I remember thinking that was really interesting, hearing that. So, but also not surprising.
So not only is Stacey Abrams affecting the people of color community, there's a large homosexual community that she's also severely impacting financially.
Right. And she can,
well,
I think it's really interesting that she's also staying largely silent during this, right? She was very, very vocal in her own campaign as a political candidate. She was very outspoken around getting Joe Biden into office, and then all through these laws. But now that a large corporation has taken action on her state, she's nowhere to be seen.
So there's another corporation, Coca-Cola, out of Atlanta, that has also spoken out against this, being a racist law, the right to vote or something. And I find that offensive. If they were speaking about me, I'd be mad. For one, I can get an ID. Like, even when I couldn't get a driver's license because I had been arrested for racing or whatever, or the 100 things that I got arrested for in my life, I could go get an ID. Like, I knew how to do it.
Yeah,
But to say that they can't do it, that pissed me off.
I think it is actually really important to say this because folks do take it for granted that when we talk about ID for voting or anything else, like they assume we're talking about a driver's license, which someone might not have. A driver's license is not the only form of identification that you can get from the government. It is not even the easiest to get.
Right. The identification, all you need is just to prove you are who you are, and it's cheaper than the driver's license, of course. And in fact, I think I still have one. It looks almost identical to the driver's license, but it just says identification card up where it says driver's license on your, at least in Georgia. That's where I did it. In South Carolina, when I lived there, same thing. Except the picture was turned. Yeah, I like to mix it up.
Variety.
Yeah. I think they turn the picture in South Carolina depending on if you're over 21 or not, because people can't read numbers there.
I think because of when it was founded, they just haven't caught up mathematically.
But anyway, yeah, so we're sitting here saying that voting to impose your will on 49% of humanity, or get for 51% of humanity to impose their will on you, having to have an ID that's very easy to get, is racist. So to get to that, you would have to say that people of one race, whichever one supposedly being, preyed upon by this law, one race can do it and one race can't. So you would have to, in your head, believe that a race is inferior. And I don't believe that. I think that
But if you had to pick one that was inferior,
I would probably say the Kentucky Derby. So these critical race theory, that's what is now the norm. I remember hearing somebody, of course it wasn't on any mainstream news because nobody will talk to some critical race theory person to see what they're talking about. They'll just say, oh, if you talk to that person, you're a racist or you're a Nazi, right? And I listened to some, I was like, oh, I don't like where he's going with that. Because it's so grouping people together. Like, yeah, if you study certain things, you might find that one race is not hitting as hard here. But there's a lot of factors that go into that besides the color of their skin. There's like geography of where they tend to be or whatever changes, their focus and whatnot, right?
or the sampling. If you're doing this in one country where
Right.
a certain race or group of people have been marginalized, or this will sound a bit morbid, but let's say they were enslaved not that long ago and maybe even bred for certain characteristics, which sounds, again, pretty dehumanizing, but
Right.
is sadly the state of affairs.
Yeah, so it was interesting to listen to this man talk and see where he's coming from, and like, oh, I can see why you're getting there, but you're missing a big, and the person interviewing brought a lot of these points that I'm thinking of up to him, and he had his spins and his dodges or whatever for him, but he he couldn't nail it down. He certainly didn't convince me. But I wish that more people would be open to listen to people like that and talk to them, because it doesn't create a situation where now the left, who would have persecuted me if they heard that I even listened to that interview, right, is participating in critical race theory. Everything has to do with the color of your skin. That you can't, if you don't vote for Biden, you're not really black. It was said. Or my privileges in life are based on the color of my skin. Or, or the what I like to stick my penis into. I mean,
Donuts?
it's yeah. I mean, it's how I get the holes. They're actually just a loaf, and then I whoop. Anyway, getting back on topic. So we've established that IDs to vote to impose your will on other people is racist. And as far as I could tell, everybody I talk to says that we vote on for the person that we dislike the least. So it's really not that important to vote if you just don't like that person a little bit less than you don't like the other person. But what I think is pretty important is being able to live your life with the opportunities of your neighbor. I think that you should, if you have the means to go to Longhorns and your neighbor has the means to go to Longhorns and they call you and say, I want to go to Longhorns. Would you like to go with me? And you have to say, no, I can't, because I don't have a special go out to Longhorns ID.
I see where you're going here. Okay.
And yeah, they go, what do you mean you don't have this special go out ID? I have one. You mean you couldn't get one? It's as easy as letting somebody stick a needle in your vein and put a chemical into your body that you don't want in your body. That's all you have to do. And then you'll be allowed to go to Longhorns. And the Bill of Rights will start to exist again for you until we find some other reason to pull it away and then say, if you do this, we'll give them back.
Now, I know in the recent back and forth with the regular anti-vax crew, has there been any traction for religious exemptions?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because
I mean, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just so I don't really follow it too much.
yeah,
I mean, I talk to them because I am interested because they do. They do make a point, and I support their decision because you if you don't want to put something in your veins, don't put it in your veins. So there you go. I choose to vaccinate me and my children, but not all of them. Not all the vaccinations that are available. Ones that they don't need because there's not a risk, or the percentage of risk is higher than for side effects for the vaccine are higher than the percentage of risk of them. I choose not to do those. That causes problems in the future from the state, then I'll just leave the state. But it's just you should be able to weigh your options. I mean, some people are just going to say, I don't want any of it in my system. And fucking Jesus Christ, why the fuck do you give a shit what's in their body? If your vaccinations fucking work, then don't worry about it.
well, I think that's the line of thinking that we've all been prepared for based on the mask argument, though, right? Is that the argument is, yes, you can wear a mask, but you are theoretically safer if I also wear a mask. And I think they're applying the same logic to the vaccine. So everyone who doesn't really understand if the vaccine even prevents you from having it or spreading it or any of that, there's not enough information for people to make informed decisions. So they're just sort of applying the logic that they've been programmed with for the last year, which
We
is
have been wearing masks a lot. And there's been places that have not been wearing masks a lot. And there's no difference in look at the charts. The curve, the exact same. So there's plenty of proof out there that with an aerosol, and there's plenty of real doctors out there that'll tell you with an aerosol based virus, it's not going to work. But it makes people feel good. And I'm not against making people feel more comfortable, but that's me doing you a favor. That's not, you didn't have a right to make me do that. And again, you don't have a right to, if you feel safer that person's got some chemical in their vein, it doesn't give you the right to make them put that chemical in your vein. Because if you don't like the way that person drives, it's not your decision on whether they can drive or not. Or if you don't, if you old people can't drive, so you're all old people can't drive. It's the same thing. I feel safer if old people can't drive. I feel safer if old people jump off a cliff like the Vikings because they make me feel they're creeped out around old people.
Is that because you're struggling to deal with your own mortality?
It exactly why. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to happen. If you follow that logic to the end, that's what you're ending up with. So you can't go down that road.
Now, if Longhorn, as you had already called out, if they decide that they will not let anyone in because of you've sort of been describing it, but we really haven't called out explicitly, is the vaccine passport program, right? So here's a thought experiment. If if the vaccine passport is 100% voluntary, it's a government program, but it is not enforceable by any government agencies. It's simply a program that they opt into, that you can take part or not. But businesses like Longhorn can decide if they use that as a measure for whether you can come in or not.
It's getting in bed with the government. So,
But it's not the government that's mandating it. It's simply Longhorn, a private business, taking advantage
so
of.
you're saying if I get the vaccine, I'm not automatic that because it can't be like if I get it that I'm in the system. It has to be I can get it and still not be in the system. And that's the problem is that all the proposals are your medical records will be linked into this, which is at that point it's game over. Totalitarianism. Now they control your medical records and whatnot. They once we get a single payer system, it's going to be like, oh, he smoked when he was 15, so a government doesn't really feel like giving him a lung. You know what I mean? They'll just decide that stuff. So, but yes, if there was a system where you could just opt, it was completely separate from you getting the vaccine. And say the government had they made the website with stolen money. It cost $73 trillion to make a yes and no click website. And then you could just click that you got it or you didn't, but it didn't link to verify because it can't link to your medical records. Then if Longhorns wanted to use it, then go, yeah, right on. Go for it.
But I guess my question is less about the problem with the passport and more about their right to lean on that. Right? So let's use the same voter ID. If Longhorn wanted to require government identification to eat there in the same way as voting, would you find issue with Longhorn requiring that ID to enter their premises?
Yes, I would. But I would find it to a level that it needs to be. I mean, as a libertarian, I can say, for example, we were talking about, Twitter was talking about voter ID, the voter passports, and one of the state libertarian parties mentioned you want to just put a yellow star on their shoulders then, and the fact that he invoked the Holocaust, or they keep saying that he did that, but all they did was things that led up to the Holocaust. That was way before the Holocaust when they started doing that. But anyway, people pretended to be outraged. People who did it all the time for other, they said it all the time. They pretended to be outraged and said that, you're belittling the survivors. And maybe there's one or two people that was outraged, but I didn't hear them speaking whenever it was every single day on all the news networks calling, the people at the Capitol and, all the other Nazi references that I hear every 10 seconds for the right. They got mad at the Libertarian Party for saying that because it went against a left agenda. You know how the left is. They own the media and they're relentless. Like when they attack, it's not about principle. It's about destroying that person. So they came after us. And thank God libertarians are very smart people who are also all over the internet, because they destroyed everybody who came after them. Now, Holocaust references are pretty juvenile. There's a lot better. If you're trying to be intellectual, there's better.
It's pretty easy. Yeah, it's kind of a pretty old trick.
Yeah. But
there's-
it did it. It did something. It blew. I mean, it was already blowing up, but it blew up way worse after that because people started fighting, it was great. So in that sense, that would be like me saying, your ID, you said you want, with an ID, it'd be like me saying, well, okay, Adolf, I'm not going to fight littler things like that with the same veracity that I'm going to fight my medical records being forced to be put on a government database that's so I can go to the movie theater or to Longhorns. Okay. So the fact that Longhorns wants to use it or not isn't the issue to me. The issue is that the force of it being able to have my stuff on it, whether I choose to get the vaccination or not. Because at some point, I might choose to get it. I'm not anti-vaxxer. I'm forced to get something, forced to have a drug put into my vein.
would you say that you're pro-choice?
I would say that. It's my body, right? But they don't think it is anymore. So when you hear the rhetoric, it's not even spoke about. Like, we have to take away these rights and not give them back until they do it, until they submit. And we were founded upon a natural rights where they didn't give us rights. And truthfully, in nature, they didn't give us any rights. Government can only take away rights. It can't give, because you're born as free as you can be, and you die as free as you can be. It's all the shit in the middle,
So, kind of going back to that whole mask logic and everyone's right to be, like, I have a right to be healthy, right?
No,
Do I not?
no, you just have a right to try to live your life healthy.
But
if you're not healthy, it's not I don't give a shit. It's not my fault.
well, I'm not saying in isolation. I'm not saying me becoming unhealthy by any action that I've taken or even inaction.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone's actions adversely affect my health, I have a right to not be exposed to that, right?
Mm-hmm. If you're saying that I'm responsible for a virus that comes off of me and gets onto you because I didn't use a mask that couldn't have stopped it from doing that anyway.
But what about a vaccine?
Is there no, you got the vaccine, right? Because if you didn't get the vaccine, then who gives a fuck? If the vaccine fucking works, then you're good.
But if the vaccine works 60% of the time and I get it, but you don't, then I would be more likely to get it if I got it and you got it.
That's life, man. You can't force somebody so you're less likely to get it. It doesn't matter. You're less likely to die in a car crash if grandma's not driving. But you don't fucking tell her not to drive. She didn't kill you. You're just scared.
What if we have old people lanes?
Just like, you just don't have any right to force your will upon anybody else. You have no right to commit violence because you're scared of something.
So do you think legitimately that they would tie everyone's medical records to this passport?
Absolutely.
You don't think that they would just require some proof of vaccination and that would be
It's supposed to be an app that he's working with corporations to design an app that would track you. So the businesses would know as soon as you entered whether you had gotten it or not.
then
And all that information would be stored in the NSA or whatever. You don't think they would use that against you? What happens when they come up with something else they want you to get? What happens when they will come for your guns? Or on the left, when they come for your whatever, like your marriage license, when they make, or oh yeah, when they repeal the abortion, whatever that was, Roe versus Wade, and then they make you by sticking a fetus back in your uterus. They're gonna track you because for some reason you guys are scared that was gonna happen. Stupid.
So what happens to anyone who's already gotten the vaccine? What do they need to produce as proof that they've gotten it?
Well, I think what we need to really be discussing is what we do to stop this. So we've got to fight it. There's not a debate on whether it's okay or not. It's just not okay. I mean, the minorities, the people in the poor place, they know. They gotta know. I mean, these people know they don't get the best health care. Like even the fucking free clinics and shit, or the drug clinics or whatever that are set up for opioids, they're not the same in the inner city as they are out in the, where the rich middle class live, right? They're not going to get the same vaccine. They're going to get the shit one. That was developed 48 hours after they decided to create a vaccine. It was developed and started to be tested 48 hours later. So they're not going to get the high dollar shit. You know what I mean? Like, and they're going to be putting poison in their veins. And if you're forced to get it with no recourse for anything that goes wrong with it, what happens when they want to skimp a few dollars and whatever, make the base cheaper or whatever? They get the saline solution from somebody's toilet. What the fuck are you going to do about it? You can't do shit. They're exempt. The only reason why they're not doing that today is because we're not forced to get it. So they have to make it seem safe. So like people will still spend their money and get it.
So, how long will this exemption, this exclusion from any recourse be in effect? Indefinitely?
Yeah. I mean,
Would it then be the responsibility of the state to rectify this if they were to
I
force
think
you
this is our
to?
responsibility. I think that any company that is supporting this, going for it, I think we are belligerent. This is part of being a libertarian. Part of the free market is to not say, oh, you're a private company, so you can do whatever the fuck you want. That's not how the free market works. Free market works because when you do wrong, the people fucking let you know it. And that's what we're going to do.
And not by outlawing it, by voting with our wallets.
Right. By voting with their wallets, by going to these places, standing there and not letting people in, by doing a fucking dance number in the fucking in front of Longhorns for 2 hours, not letting any customers by. Fuck them.
Now
They're placating to the man. Corporate America is the left now. The left is corporate America. They make the left happy. The left knocks out all their competition. Big corporations win. Look at Amazon. Look at Walmart. Look at what they've done. What totalitarianism does is it knocks out everybody's comeuppance and makes sure that the elite stay on top. And that's exactly what the left wants to do today. The left that I knew, the ones that were against power, the ones that were standing out there screaming at Wall Street back in 08, those people are gone today. Those people have been brainwashed. The ones that are still on the left and the other ones have been kicked out of the social club. They're writing for fringe papers going, I'm true leftist, but they're all, they're still anti-war over there. There's like 4 or 5 of them.
globally.
Yeah, they're awesome. They write some good shit. I don't agree with them on economics, but these guys write some good shit and they're against power.
So just to clarify, I just want to make sure we're good here. Has Longhorn taken a position on this yet? Because I really don't want to drag them through the mud if they haven't.
Oh, no, they haven't.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay. I
not,
just wanted everyone listening to know that you can
or
still
yeah,
buck
maybe
up, kick back,
they have, but
and chow down at Longhorn.
look it up. But like, if they do, the Longhorns, you hear me? That's what we're going to do. So don't you fuck up.
This is a pretty good warning, I think,
Yeah,
because in my mind, I imagined a huge cabal of liberty-seeking folks just surrounding a Longhorn.
right. And Coca-Cola, do it to the museum. Let's fuck up the museum.
Force everyone inside to drink Beverly.
Yeah. Coca-Cola Museum requires you to have a racist ID to enter right in downtown. So, I mean, what is more racist? Is it more racist that everybody, poor, rich, whatever, pays the same for this piece of shit, no good government ID so they can vote to impose their will on 49% of us, or that inner city people are going to be forced to take the cheap vaccine because they're getting it, the fucking from the dirty ass clinic that they're in. You got blood stains on the little armband they're putting around you, probably, and then the rich people or the middle class that are less people of color are getting the better brand of the vaccine, and they get the same, card. They get to go out now, but these guys get to put the cleaner shit in their veins. I think that's more racist, personally. We got the middle class got a lot more access to places to get things like that, to get medicine and whatnot, doctors and whatnot. They don't just have to go to clinics, but poor people in the inner cities, it's mostly going to clinics, and there's less of them. Because doctors just don't want to fucking work down there. They don't want to fight with Medicare or Medicaid to get their fucking money, or, they want to go somewhere where they know they're at least getting whatever the copay or whatever. So.
Well, if you legitimately think that you are fighting for the rights of those poor people and their right to vote, you better hope that you are right about the vaccine, because you are giving them the one that might not keep them around long enough to vote.
Yeah. And these people who are doing this, with corporate America and all this stuff, this woke, nixing you, or, just erasing you from existence, for speaking out against things like this. It's bullshit. And no, people in the real world they're not part of it. They don't like it. It's only the TV, the trolls on, the few posts you see on Facebook or whatever. It's all the same one over being thrown around that does it to people. And they're not the majority. You people who are wokest or think you are, you're just following the crowd. You're not the majority. Most people think you're stupid. We need to talk about this shit, because this is getting ridiculous. We can't live together like this. I won't live like this. I won't live being tracked. I won't live as a second-class citizen if I don't choose to put something in my vein. I'm not going to do it. That's how shit like the Holocaust happens. That's how it happens. Or Mao, or Stalin, or Pol Pot. That's how that shit happens. So it doesn't just happen all of a sudden. Everybody goes, yeah, fuck the Jews. But yesterday they weren't that way, but then they all get racist and fuck the Jews and let's elect Hitler, right? It's not how it fucking happens. It happens just like this. You slowly demonize a group of people, or in this case, it's becoming a populist. You have to conform to this populist mentality, or you get attacked so viciously that even if everybody else believes the same thing you do, nobody will speak out about it. And that's what we've gotten to today. And we can't be sissies about this. All you people with the Libertarian Party that don't want to fight this, they don't want to be called a racist, they don't want to be attacked viciously, don't say anything. Just shut the fuck up and let us fight it. The people with the nuts to fight this. Let us fight it. Because when you try to soften it, you take all the bite out of it, all the energy out of the argument. We need people to get upset. If the left or establishment right or whatever, if even at the right, depending on the argument, like the far right, it doesn't matter what we're fighting or who's mad at us for it. If they're mad at us, that means that we're doing something. It just happens that when you get the left mad at you, they have the media, so you're going to get like celebrities and shit, and it might be talked about more. But if we're not getting yelled at, we're not doing anything. So don't get upset when we're getting yelled at. Let us just shut up and stay back. Let us get yelled at. So what?
Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Exactly. And don't go to Longhorns and fuck Longhorns up, people. Please. I like Longhorns. Yeah, I'm in a lot better mood today. We're talking about this than I would have been even yesterday. Because I started reading Walter Block's Defending the Undefendable 2 today. And as ridiculous as Walter Block is, he makes me very happy when I read his books. He's just so controversial. So, way more than this episode. So you guys out there, read Walter Block's book. And don't boycott Longhorn. But Coca-Cola's free game, buddy.
It's a trap. There's no comfort.